We have a problem with the NBA media. So I'm sure some of you guys have seen this on Twitter. If you haven't and you're not on Twitter, good for you. You're doing better than the rest of us. The clip that came out earlier today and has been making the rounds is one of Stephen A. Smith saying, hey, Quentin Grimes did a really good job last night when Quentin Grimes hasn't played on the Knicks since the trade deadline and has not played in a game since March 13th. And that's only like the most recent example of people who just don't watch basketball that get a first place vote or that get a media vote in the MVP race and that sort of thing. And it's kind of a problem that people get a say in these players' contracts, in their livelihoods, and also that they just get to write history. It's bullshit. Stephen A. Smith should not be getting to write the history of the NBA, right? And it's not only him, but there's a lot of people that get votes. Like if you look at just last year, Kendrick Perkins also got a vote. Jalen Rose is more knowledgeable. I don't know why I singled his name out. I'm looking at a list of all the names. Like Doris Burke got a vote. There are a lot of people who get votes that just shouldn't really have one, that don't really know what they're talking about. Like Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins are the two biggest examples of people who got ballots at least last year. There might be other people who get votes this year that didn't get one last year, or whatever. But Stephen A. Smith is getting one this year, and it blows that this happens. I mean, Mike Wilbon also got a vote, and there's not a ton wrong with liking these people's content, right? I don't personally watch First Take. I don't personally watch Undisputed or, any of those debate shows. They're not meant for me. They're meant for a more casual audience than I am, and then you probably are as well. But if you like their content, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, right? My dad works from home and watches Colin Cowherd. There's nothing wrong with watching sports TV, but it's a little irresponsible of people who have votes that can determine people's, millions of dollars. Like if Jaylen Brown didn't get to All-NBA, he wouldn't have gotten the Supermax extension that he got. Tyrese Halliburton might miss out on a Supermax extension. Same with Donovan Mitchell because of voting, right? And I mean, Donovan Mitchell is not likely to. That's more because of the injury stuff, but same principle of if they have a right to put someone onto a team, they can always have a right to take them off of a team and give them generational wealth, right? And it's not super common it's not super common for people to completely screw it up. A lot of people who have ballots, have good ballots, do watch basketball. Zach Lowe watches basketball. We know that he cares as much as their opinions are weird, and a lot of the time Bill Simmons does watch. A lot of people do watch basketball, do pay attention, do want to do the best by these players. But when you have a good chunk of the people watching the games that don't actually watch the games, right? They claim to watch, they don't actually watch. Sorry if this video is a lot more rambly than I normally do. I just am kind of pissed about it because I used to be a media member, right? I used to have a press pass, I used to go to the games, and I might do that again in the future, but it takes a lot of work to be a media member, to be a beat writer, and to see people have such a big platform and not take it seriously. It's a very irresponsible use of their platform. And why are we giving these people votes, right? There are some people who do have good votes, right? But it's a flawed system to have media people who very obviously do not watch the games vote. Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins should not have MVP votes. I would argue people with connections with agents and that sort of stuff shouldn't have votes. Shams, a lot of his content, in Woj too, if Woj has a vote, a lot of their content is from agencies, right? And they should not have votes if there's a chance that they vote for someone because they want their agent to give them some favors of the future, or they want to do a favor for their agent so they can get a scoop later in the summer, right? And I don't think that that's happened up until this point, but it is a possibility that that happens at some point. And we're looking at an MVP race where, Jokic is probably going to win. Straw poll came out. It looks like he's going to win. All the sports betting odds say he's going to win. But maybe there should be some talk about, another player. I don't think so. I think he's earned the MVP, but a lot of people are talking about Luka. And he's made a big push for it. There's also Most Improved Player and Sixth Man and Depoy. These awards take a bit more of an eye than MVP because MVP is the biggest names. MVP is the superstars of the NBA, and even if you don't watch every game, if you're not watching, Pistons Hornets on a Tuesday afternoon, you will inevitably be like, okay, I can sort of gauge these players. But for MIP, people might just look at the biggest points leap. When Kobe White has been by far the most improved player this season, he went from like a bad role player to like a pretty good starter. Tyrese Maxey is a very improved, and props to Tyrese Maxey. He probably deserves to be an all-star this season. He is going to be a perennial all-star in the future. He's better than Kobe White, but he did not improve more than Kobe White. He went from a fringe all-star level player to like an all-star level player. Kobe White went from someone who I wouldn't necessarily be excited about being on my roster to someone who could be a high-end starter for a playoff team. There's nuance there that the likes of Stephen A. Smith, who can't remember that his own favorite team, by the way, because he is supposedly a Knicks fan, traded a player and then claimed that that player did well. Like, dude, just take a look at the box score and you could tell that he didn't play. You can just look at a box score. It doesn't even take like a genius to be like, oh, Quentin Grimes doesn't play for the Knicks anymore? Word. It doesn't take you paying that close of attention, especially if it's your favorite team. And he just looks at a box. You just have to look at a box score and say, oh, these names, Quentin Grimes isn't here. Okay, Quentin Grimes didn't play. I don't have to bring up Quentin Grimes unprompted. I don't have to do that. Great. It's such a simple fix. Like, just for the love of God, watch the games. Because there are so many dumb TV shows like First Take and Undisputed are both really dumb to me. And like, if you like them, more power to you. But they are the worst side of sports media, in my opinion, which is the narrative bullshit where they try and brew up a narrative about what the last night's game against the Hornets, where he only scored 22 points and didn't score the go-ahead bucket to win the game, does for LeBron's legacy. LeBron has shored up his legacy 4 years ago. He won a 5th title, and that was that, right? Or a 4th title. He won 4th title with the Lakers in the bubble, and that was enough to make him the GOAT, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion. There is no need to discuss his legacy further. Because at this point, if you think Michael Jordan's the GOAT, you're never going to not think Michael Jordan is the GOAT. If you think LeBron James is the GOAT, you're never going to be convinced that he's not. But they debate it every single weekday at 8 a.m. sharp because they know nothing else. They don't want to talk about anything else. They just want to talk about the easy things that, casual fans engage in. And there's nothing wrong with being a casual fan. There are plenty of things casual fans bring. I'm a casual fan of some sports. I'm a casual NFL fan. I don't know the right tackle for the Detroit Lions, right? Or like the backup left tackle for my own team. I'm not sure about that. I will never claim to know more than I do. It's just disheartening to see the way that sports media is going. And I hope that the LeBron James, JJ Redick, Mind the Game podcast changes that. It seems to kind of be getting more people actively engaged in like the X's and O's of the game, that sort of thing. But I don't even think you need to know X's and O's to really like talk about the game in depth, right? Like, I know X's and O's, but I don't really bring it up that much unless I'm having an X's and O's conversation, or like if I'm trying to coach someone. Instead, you can talk about players that are just role players. Like, hey, talk about Peyton Watson having 5 blocks. First Take. Talk about Devin Vassell being a really good second fiddle for the Spurs down the stretch. Talk about, not LA teams and not New York teams and not the superstars of the NBA. Try that. See where that gets you. I'm sure that people would enjoy that. Yeah, this has all been, that's the problem with sports media, is all that stuff. That's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be bringing out that Eastern X Factors video soon, followed probably by, my awards ballots, and followed then by playoff stuff, probably, maybe an all-NBA video in there. This has been that. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.